Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's set up Sunday. Let's take a look at some charts, see what's going on out there in crypto land, if anything at all. We've certainly gotten some interesting headlines over the past week as these 13F filings are released. Basically, if you're hitting a certain tier threshold, I think it's 100 million, then you have to report your holdings. So we are getting new buyers. We are getting buyers adding to positions. We are getting buyers buying MSTR. These are all very good things, the long-term picture especially. And if we look at who these people are, it's unlikely that this stuff is fast money. It is more likely that this is measured and understands the risks and has a longer time horizon than a retail trader. That isn't to say they couldn't exit tomorrow, they could. But if we look at entities like Abu Dhabi's Sovereign Wealth Fund, interesting, right? That's Middle East and Sovereign Wealth Fund. That's a government. Great. Bring them into the tent. It's a big tent. We got a Hong Kong family office joining the fray here. 599 million in IBIT. No small position. Great. Different country, different type of entity. And then we've got the Wisconsin State Pension adding to their IBIT position. I'm always less interested in, the Bitcoin maxis are going to buy no matter what. The crypto people are going to buy no matter what. It's what is the new type of buyer? Who are they? Why are they buying? Are they the first of their kind? In this case, in like a sovereign wealth fund, a family office, a pension, as Fiat Hawk kindly, succinctly put together down here. We've already had corporates and companies. We've got MSTR, obviously, and Tesla and many others following along. There's a new one in, I think it's China or Hong Kong as well. A company is going to be buying BTC. Great. Some of these are going to be here for one bull run and disappear. Some of these are going to be here for a decade. The more of these entities that are here for a decade, the less likely we are to see a gigantic bear market. And the more fresh money that comes in, the higher the likelihood that the bull market has legs to go yet. So if you think everybody's done buying, then you probably have a muted understanding or expectation of the bull market going forward. But when we got people like Cantor buying, I think this is $1 billion in MSTR. Not only that, but looks like they're short. They've got puts on some of their MSTR position. They've got some sort of covered call thing, but net short looks like on Nvidia, net short on Tesla. Looks like they've got puts on the S&P, a little bit of IBIT in there. So they're very long. The ratio of BTC relative to the world, not only just MSTR, but they're fully gung ho on MSTR. And it's not just them. And these aren't necessarily new positions or added positions over the past quarter, but I was surprised to see this list of holders of MSTR at the state level, which are basically pension funds. Not massive positions, and it doesn't need to be massive for the effect to be felt. But I think the other interesting part of it is we're hearing all these headlines about XYZ state is talking about some sort of Bitcoin reserve, as if it isn't already happening at some level in that state. I know Michigan and Wisconsin specifically, they're already buying various pension systems in those states are already buying or have bought BTC in some way. So this is what we like to see. And we, of course, had Javier Milei pulling a massive rug pull, whether he knew it or not, just walked right into that one. And it furthers the Bitcoin maxi thesis of all this other stuff, especially this newer air quotes, heavy air quotes, meme coin, pump and dump nonsense, just should be ignored. In the altcoin ecosystem, certainly feeling that with a fixed amount of liquidity sloshing around a few projects. And when stuff like this gets pulled out of the ecosystem, it's very hard for that to come in immediately to hold alts back up. You've got alts with very high inflation. You've got unlocks. We can say we know about the Sol unlock. It's priced in. Okay, fine. Let's see what happens. The Sol chart, as we're going to find in a minute here, doesn't look good. I wouldn't want to be long Sol here. So we'll see. We'll see how priced in it is. Before we go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payer Ventures Inc., PVI DBA Kraken. I'm going to say something that sounds like financial advice, but really I'm just talking to myself. I'm talking about my positions, my buckets, okay? My holder bucket, I see nothing to sell. I look at the weekly, I look at the cloud. Holder bucket, doesn't care about anything until we're below the weekly cloud, which we are very far above here. So no issues whatsoever. Below the weekly cloud would basically be below 63, below 45. Nowhere near that. I'll also say as bullish as I was in the open and as bullish as I'm going to be in the close, in a vacuum, technicals on BTC here are not bullish at all on the daily. They just aren't. They haven't been for a good long while. That doesn't mean we have to crash. It doesn't mean we have to drop. It just means cash makes sense to me here. And you could pitch me a short position. You could pitch that to me and I'd be in strong agreement based on this here cloud system, looking at price sitting in the cloud. You are not bullish if you are in the cloud after a rally higher. You're just not. I don't care what it is. I don't care what asset it is. I don't care if you've got headlines about family offices. I don't care if, as we're going to talk about in a minute, you've got liquidity stuff that is positive. It just doesn't matter in the moment until it matters, and it hasn't mattered. Okay. So I don't hate short positions. I'm not short here. I don't think there's a reason to necessarily be short. I like cash here. Cash seems great on the crypto side, or just doing something else. But what you really shouldn't be doing if you're trading, this is the trader bucket. Now we're talking to the traders here. You probably shouldn't be trading this actively because you're just getting absolutely chopped up. So why is the cloud bearish? Well, again, we are in the cloud from a bullish position, previously bullish position. We've been in the cloud for, I don't know, 5 days, 7 days, whatever. Yes, we're sideways. Yes, you could say there's still some modicum of low time frame Adam and Eve. Fine, right? Whatever. But this is not screaming long. I don't care if it moves 100% tomorrow. The technicals of this system tell you, be careful here, be defensive, and wait. Now, we don't have to drop to 88.8, which would be the 20-week moving average. We don't have to drop to the bottom of the cloud, which would be 84K, and fulfill the edge-to-edge from 97 to 84. And we don't have to go to the pivot, which is at 80. We don't have to do any of that. But I don't have to be long this asset either. I can just do something else with my time and money, and that's what I've been doing. We're also slightly below the volume profile here, which is holding a point of control somewhere slightly higher. And you can see we've just been snaking in around that area. So there isn't really much to say or do here. Now, is there still a potential ascending triangle? Sure. But if future me comes back and watches this video, past me is going to agree with future me and say, you know what? At that time, there was no good evidence to be long here. There just isn't. There just isn't. So yeah, am I bullish? I'm bullish on everything else around Bitcoin right now, but I'm not bullish this chart. This is not where you want to be, no matter what it is, unfortunately. There are reasons to be bullish in legacy, which I'll get to, but this is not bullish. So if Bitcoin's a little confused as to where it should be and what it should be, most of the altcoin market is going to look probably worse. If we go to Sol, I can turn off some of this stuff here. Sol below the 20-week yearly pivot there at 176, but this also not what you want to see. You do not want to see this on any asset that you want to be long. You just don't. It doesn't have to play out. Doesn't have to break down. It can reverse tomorrow. I don't care. But again, I can do something else with my time and money. And I do not want to be sitting in this with the potential of this going below 150. No, thank you. Okay. It's also below the daily cloud. It's also been chop gross range. You've also got pump.fun just turbo selling everything. You've got anybody rugging anybody else in pump.fun. Very likely turbo selling Sol. You've got the unlocks, as I've mentioned. Just let's get through this, okay? And you can throw FTX refunds at me if you want. You say, well, there's all this money coming back in. All right, we'll see it. We'll see it in the chart if that changes. We'll see Bitcoin move from 96 to 99, which is where I would be less bearish if we're out of the cloud, if we're above that red line, the Kijun. If we're up here, I'm less bearish. Fine. It's not that far away. But if you're short here, that's also a great stop loss level, 99, daily close at 99. So that's how I would structure a short trade. You're basically at the same level you've been at for 7 days now. You can say never short a dull market. Fine. But again, if you're short here, I don't hate that idea. I don't hate the setup. Decent downside still, potentially, on that chart. And alts collectively just look worse for the most part. The only thing I care about on ETH is 4K, and we are far from that. And if you're convinced and sure that this is going to act as an inverted head and shoulders, which it very well may, go for it, right? Who am I to stop you? But 4K is the level that matters. Until then, this is just chop. And on a year-to-date basis, it is not looking pretty for ETH. One way to structure all these trades at lows is just say, okay, I'm long with a stop loss at a new lower low, new local low. Fine. That's a setup you could take. But again, below the daily cloud, not where you want to live. Seeing Ripple at the top on the volume and seeing Trump 5th or whatever this is in the list here in my favorites, not bullish in general. Ripple still has this head and shoulders risk. Who knows if it completes or not. It is trying to recross on the TK there. So that would be the go long signal. Anything below 211, $2 is the be very much careful signal. Trump probably isn't really worth analyzing, but we'll do it anyway on the hourly, below the hourly, and not quite through the 4 hour. So I don't really see anything there for me. Sui also on the daily, just hanging out below the cloud, not where you want to be. And again, you can say this is bottomed. I know this is bottom. This is going to double bottom, triple bottom, quad bottom. Fine, right? Put a stop loss at 280 and call it a day. But trend wise, this is not where you want to live. You saw how this lived above the cloud. That's always what you want to see. Great trend. Down here, not bullish. Just isn't. That's why the cloud is so great at telling you things. You don't have to guess. And we can look at DOGE, similar, not bullish. LTC, one of the few, maybe the only, honestly, above its daily cloud. Not only, that's a strong word, but one of the better looking charts out there, for sure. This could be flag, pennant, I don't know. Looks fine. As ugly as this looks, it looks fine relative to everything else. I guess Ripple was above the cloud. But LTC looks okay relative to most everything else. Now, Lido, strangely enough, does have a setup. It has a setup in that, similar to ETH, it's got a multi-month, almost a year-long inverted head and shoulders here. I don't know on what planet this would move more than ETH. If ETH is bearish, why this would move positively. Breakout levels around like 230. Maybe you set alerts at 220 as an idea. But this isn't something that I would sit in here. Again, I'm talking to myself, the trader, me. I'm not sitting in this hoping that it's going to break out. I'm going to wait till there's a little bit more momentum to see if it actually does break out. This may go sideways for another 6 months. What do I know? But at the very least, this has a setup relative to everything else that just kind of looks like junk. So I wish I had good things to say. I wish these charts all didn't look just horrific. Here's ETH BTC, by the way. Is it longable down here? Sure, right? You can do anything you want with the stop loss at local lows. Fine. I don't hate that as a setup or an idea, but the cloud is pretty clear. Not bullish. Just isn't. We can pull up Sol BTC as well. And that level was 0027. Briefly tapped that level. But this also is showing a head and shoulders on it. So yeah, we can say Sol is set up for some amazing continuation and ETH is going to turn around and everything's going to outperform BTC. Fine, but that's not what the charts are showing. If you had no idea what these assets were, and I just showed you this chart, I don't think you'd be bullish. I really don't. So I'd be careful here on some of these that still don't look great because it is rough. It is rough out there. One other thing I wanted to talk about was the years ahead power law support indicator. The idea was developed by APSK32. Looks like a gentleman or gentle lady named Tinker put this together in PineScript for TradingView. But the idea here is using the power law support, depending on where it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead of the current price. We can look at what has happened previously and sort of surmise the resistance levels, the be careful levels, the levels that we probably won't exceed if the cycle topped today at the 5-year support or whatever, between the 4 and the 50-year support, which looks like today would be 200 to 250. So the longer this grinds out, the better it actually is, just like 2017. It might not feel the best, and many people will get chopped up along the way, but the longer this goes, the better. So I'll put the thread in this description of this video that tells you how to add it to TradingView, but really interesting and neat indicator. Okay, so that's where the bearishness sort of ends for the video, because if I were to tell you, if I were to give you a scenario or situation that says, hey, the dollar is down a lot. It looks like it's headed lower by a lot more. right? What would you say? You'd say, well, I think Bitcoin's probably pretty bullish. It's not. Bitcoin's not bullish. What if I told you the 10-year, pretty bearish, looks like it's ready to break down. Junk bonds, ETF, HYG, sitting there at highs. This chart looks phenomenal. Adjusted for the dividend, it is at an all-time high. Very bullish. Gold just hit significant all-time highs. And by the way, this is some more vanilla cloud stuff that I did talk about on the 15th. Bullish TK recross, price above cloud. You're always looking for that. Nothing ever guaranteed, but you're always looking for that on the cloud. So dollar down, 10-year down, high yield credit up. If we go to liquidity here, liquidity in the yellow, liquidity has bounced significantly. Previously, earlier in 2024, liquidity led BTC by, 60 to 90 days. So it's hard to be bearish fundamentally when all this stuff around you is very bullish. And oh, by the way, the SPY also looks significantly bullish here. It's just sitting at all-time highs, bullish TK recross, price above cloud. Qs, bullish TK recross, price above cloud. Looks fine. It's certainly not bearish. Now, we might not get an all-time high tomorrow. We won't because it's President's Day. The markets are closed. We might not get an all-time high this week. We might not get an all-time high next week. But this is not a bearish chart. This looks right. So to see BTC this bearish with all the headlines and the fundamentals around it being bullish is kind of wild. So you just got to hope that it's a bullish divergence on the BTC side of things. But dollar should continue to break down. Even if it doesn't, you're going to get a head and shoulders here. And again, that's not bullish. 10-year, you're going to get a bearish edge to edge through the cloud there. Some sort of cup and handle inverted thing going on. And gold isn't a long here. At least if you're the trader, the gold bug doesn't care, but the trader wants to trade the trend. You're a little late. The target based on the previous range is 3K essentially. So the risk reward here, not great. But if you're paying attention to the move setting up, you're doing fine. We've also got Bitcoin against gold potentially completing its edge to edge this week. You can see that bearish move. This is what the setup would look like for spot side of things. So it's hard to be bearish, BTC. It really is. With all of this going around, it's just price is price pays, right? And again, you got to think at some point, BTC should move higher if all this stuff holds up. Here's the high time frame Bitcoin against gold, measuring potentially just to absurd levels relative to gold, right? So what's it going to take? Is it going to take the S&P breaking out? Is it going to take the Qs breaking out? I think really it's just going to be time. I think closer to Q2, we may be better off. We fought off tariff headlines. This is legacy. Tariff headlines, DeepSeek, hot CPI, hot PPI. Didn't matter. None of that mattered. Just flat out didn't matter. Chart still looks great. Wish Bitcoin looked like this. But this is where I've been spending a majority of my mental capacity because there's just been a lot more to do there. Here's Bitcoin against TQQQ. Just a side throwaway comment that much like the gold chart, if we start ripping and roofing on the BTC side against everything historically, like this is a multi-year high that we're just chilling at for BTC relative to the TQQQ. If we break out against gold, against S&P, against the Qs, if we break out against a levered Qs ETF, it's going to just be harder and harder to ignore BTC throughout the year. But let's get above 100K first, right? Like let's make some headway towards holding a higher price, not just sitting at multi-week lows. On some of these crypto equities like MSTR did lead before the October move before the election. MSTR led bigly. It could lead here again, but it hasn't really done much yet, right? Now, if MSTR can break above 365, then we're in business, back above the cloud, bullish TK cross. The better trade, the better setup is exactly what occurred July to September, where you're actually deeper. You're actually a little bit deeper, closer to 300, just on the time scale. So I'll take whatever the market gives me here, but very much a wait and see on the MSTR side of things. And if it does lead BTC, that's a very good sign. Haven't seen that quite yet. Of all the miners, IREN still the better looking miner. Maybe the best looking miner. A little bit of a cup and handle situation here. back above the cloud, bullish cloud, not a bullish ticket cross yet. If IREN does well, it's probably more because of the HPC AI data center stuff, less because of BTC. But if anything, BTC is going to be an added kicker for price here if BTC can break up as well. And then there's Coin, which, like I said Thursday during the live stream, the earnings didn't really matter to me because, yeah, it's up 8% on the day, but then it gave it all back. It just hasn't traded well, very rangy, and just hasn't gone anywhere. And that's okay. Everything doesn't always have to move all the time, but this is why technicals to me are very important relative to everything else, because the whole world can be screaming bullish and the fundamentals can be bullish. But if price isn't moving, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. And again, you could say this is a bullish divergence. Price is going the opposite direction of fundamentals. That's fine. But you're just not seeing that yet on Coin. And the last one I thought I'd throw in here is RIVN. It is probably not going to 60 to 100, whatever, right? Probably not. But I like the setup. The trader in me likes this. Why auto tariffs would be good for RIVN, I don't know. Maybe they're not. Who knows? EVs, right? You can go down the list and say all these reasons why it doesn't make any sense at all. But as an idea, as a setup, looks very interesting as it gets itself back into some high time frame cloud. So the only thing that isn't bullish for BTC here is price. And that's unfortunate because things look very bullish outside of price. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.